Okay, so I record all of this so we can actually send this over to your client, Mai.
Yes.
Um,
Thank you.
You're welcome. So this one is a super admin dashboard, which means even the gambling company doesn't have any sub merchants under him, under the company, they can use the system even without any other sub merchants under them. Now, you were asking a while ago about the white label. White label solution is, for example, there is a gambling company and he has different sub merchants under him that he wants to put in our system. This can be possible because our system can actually help you to put different sub merchants, but this is a white label solution, which means this has different dashboard for the merchants. Can you get it?
Yes. So
Okay.
you can select it from the top left, right? Different
Yes,
dashboard.
correct.
Yeah.
Now, let me pull up this one. Okay, let me discuss this to you as well. I'll be sending this on Telegram or on your email as well. This is an internal payment provider. It means using our system, you can white label solution with different sub merchants under you. You can have co-project. The meaning of co-projects, if you have multiple companies, you can put those multiple companies that has online transactions per month to our system. And then there's a turnkey solution. We can actually provide a gateway services for turnkeys for your projects. Okay. Now, this is the diagram. For example, you want to be a provider to different gambling companies. You will be using Corfi, white label Corfi, and then there's merchant 1, merchant 2, 3, 4. There's a virtual merchant accounts over here. While for the Corfi payment gateway, you can actually do routing and cascading to different sub merchants, or I mean to different payment solution providers. So you still need to be connected with different payment service provider, then we will integrate with them so that you can do, we can unify all of them in one roof. We have a fraud management system as well. There's a card tokenization. There's a reconciliation for your accounting people so that they can see if this is correct, the transaction is correct. There's a refund, there's a chargeback. They can actually check those things. Now, for the PSP's interface, currently we have 300 plus payment service provider. It's not 200 anymore. It's 300 payment service providers around the world. We can actually process nearly everything as long as there's an API integration, starting from Bitcoin, ended with SEPA, Swift transfer, SH, card transaction, and any payment, the currencies, processing currencies. You can also have merchant management, pricing and fees, accounting ledger, and so on. So can I do a system demo right now?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Let me go first to this one before to the merchant portal, okay? I have to explain this to you details per details. So, my boy, Tong and Pam Toy, this, all of this that you are seeing here are payment service providers, banks, acquirers, electronic money, institutions, e-cash, e-money, wallets, crypto gates, corporate processor, in-house processor. So some of them you might know, some of them may be new to you, but you don't need to worry, because if you want to expand in other territories, you will be needing our help so we can introduce you to them. Okay. So these are the integrated already in our system. Okay. Because our goal is to be the most globally connected payment service provider in the world. Okay. So
Yes.
here, most of the clients that we have are, like what I said, in gambling, betting, crypto trading, and forex trading. So there's a lot of high risk payment solution providers that are connected to us already. So for example, if you want to be connected with a payment solution provider, You need to sign separate contract with them. You need to pass their KYC in order for them to provide you their credentials. For example, you want Nuvei. We will introduce you to Nuvei. You need to sign separate contract with Nuvei. Nuvei has a different pricing monthly, and we also have a different pricing for our platform. Like what it said yesterday, my boy, that if you are connected with Corfi, it doesn't mean that you are only paying one time. You also need to pay the provider, like Stripe, PayPal, Skrill, and so on, who will process your transaction. Because our company, we're only a software provider. We are an IT company who bring unify control and management interfaces to all of these. But regarding with the financial institution, you still need to connect with the bank inside Japan, because your client is in Japan, right? Or they can connect with a PSP outside Japan who can process the gambling transaction. So for example, you want to connect with Nuvei, we will introduce you to them. You need to sign contract so that they can provide you their credentials. This is the credentials before you can do transaction in our system. Now, over here, you can see what are the payment methods that they have. Okay. These are the payment methods: China Union Pay, Visa, MasterCard, and so on. Payout methods. The meaning of payout is for you to pay the end user, to pay the user out. Okay. So there's a payment, there's a payout. So that's Nuvei. So for example, you want to connect with Ascend Pay, for example. You again, in order for you to use our system and do transaction, you need their credentials. That's why you need to sign separate contract with them. They will provide you the merchant ID. They will provide you the credentials that you need to put over here. So you can actually put, also check what are the payment methods and then what are the payout methods. Okay. Now, for the connect.
Yes. So can I have a question? Yesterday I also mentioned that we need iWallet and Paybank as a payment provider. So
we can for that, for e-wallet. Yeah, but yeah, I'll explain to you why you don't need any e-wallet anymore, because even in our system, you can see the payments, or the, how can I say this? This one, I'll explain this to you later on.
Yeah, okay.
Important, because you can see over here what are the pending balance, overdraft limit, what is the reserve balance, and so on. So actually, you don't need any e-wallet anymore, because for the e-wallet, this is for the end user, right? What we need to resolve right now is for the gambling company of your client in Japan, so that they can get payments and payouts. That's the first thing you need to do first. Okay. Now we can help you to look for payment solution provider. But for example, you are connected with 4 already. Just for example, you are connected to 1, 2, 3, 4. You sign contract with them. Our system, it will actually appear here, the connected accounts. And as you see, there's a group over here. It says payment service providers, and the current architecture of the system distinguishes between the deposit and merchant account. Now, the merchant account is very straightforward. It's where the money payments coming in, while the deposit is you have to deposit the money to do the payout, to pay the user out. So the next layer, I'll be explaining this to you, and your client will really appreciate it. That's why this video, you have to provide this as well to your client in Japan. Okay.
Yes. I will send to him.
Yeah. The next layer is the omni-channel for payment and payout gateway. Omni-channel means it works to all sort of everything as long as there's an API integration. So it can be with codes, eCash, whatever that is. Now, the subproduct of the overall omni-channel for payment and payout gateway I'll go you later to the card gate, but let me go you directly over to this. Here, you can be an aggregator. So for example, there's a gambling company. They can actually see what is a reference ID over here. Why the transaction failed, while the transaction declined. They can actually see the reference ID over here. They can ask to their payment service provider like Stripe, PayPal, or Nuvei, the one that these are the payment service providers, right? So they can actually ask this, like, hey, what happened to this reference ID? You can also see over here as well, what are the description, what are the service, like, is the end user use Google Pay, Apple Pay, MasterPass, or credit card? And then routing, where did the payment route? To what payment service provider? Because if you are connected to 3 different payment service provider, you need to look who is a payment service provider who processed the transaction. Now, for the statement, you can also see the statement over here. Okay. Payment requests, you can also see over here if there is one. Activity logs, you can also see over here, and the logs. Okay. Maybe right now you cannot see the logs over here because this is only a system demo, but most likely you can see details like this one. It says, I'm the one who created this, Miguel Salaya, who did the process. It says Philippine, but I'm not actually in Marikina, but I'm in Metro Manila, in Chinatown, in the Philippines. But you can actually see the logs over here. Even your end user you can actually see your end user IP address and so on. Okay, now let's go to this card gate. You can see details like successful transaction or not successful, but please do not worry if you see a lot of red ones or a lot of failed transaction, because we only make money to the successful transactions. Which means if there is a fail, you can actually ask your payment service provider for this reference ID. What you can see the card, by the way, the credit card will always have this asterisk because we are a PCI DSS level 1. We are a payment card industry data security standard. Okay. So we provide you the whole amount number for the credit card. You can also see over here what are the options. Did you allow splitting the transaction? Did you allow 3DS secure, CVV, H2A is like host to host payment, tokenization, what is a customer's reference ID over here, and then this is the IP address. So for example, my boy Tong and Ham Toy, for example, you don't like North Korean people to do the transaction, you can block them because we know
Setting
that
for that, right? Like block IP address, can we
Correct.
setting it on the gateway?
Yes,
On the, sorry,
we
the
can set that
dashboard.
in our payment gateway. For example, we love Korean people, but we know that North Korean doesn't have any credit cards, right? And if there's a bulk transaction going on to the North Korean, most likely it's a fraudulent activities, right? So for example,
Yes.
there's an online gambling betting who wants to use a lot of credit cards, like 20 credit cards in North Korea. And we know that North Korean people doesn't have any credit cards. Maybe the fraud person who's doing that is only using VPN access, flying VPN and so on. So you can actually block them. Okay. And then, for example, if you don't like Russian people from Russia because there's a war going on, there's a lot of providers who's blocking them because even though they paid using Visa and MasterCard, the banks cannot get it. The banks cannot get the money because they are being how can I say this? Being penalized from what they are doing in Ukraine, right? So you can do that.
Yes.
Now, for the payment request, you can also see over here, what are the datas? same thing a while ago. For the payment scheme, this is what I'm saying to you. This is our unique selling proposition. Okay. What do I mean unique selling proposition? For example, you need multiple currencies both for payments and payout. So you need different routing schemes both for payments and payout for different countries, because you cannot process market A into market B currency. Like you cannot process Japan market then Singapore market, or you can, but there's going to be an exchange rate, so there's going to be an issue, right? So you can actually set up different entities and create separate payment scheme for them. Now, the payment scheme is inclusive with 4 different areas. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 feature is, are we going to enable Apple Pay, Google Pay, MasterPass, or enable converting? The tricky
Auto
component,
convert, right?
yes,
Is the exchange rate auto convert, right?
yes, converting is converting the amount, right? Now the tricky components here are this: routing, cascading, and modifier scheme. Let me start with routing. For example, you are connected to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You are connected to 6 different payment solution providers. You have to create a decision tree like this one. Okay. Routing is a set of rules. So it is a rule engine that you guys will set up. We will help you to set this up. By saying we will give you a dedicated account manager who is working in EET time zone, which is working in Eastern Europe time zone, because most of my colleagues are in Europe. Okay, 6 hours time difference, but they are very reliable. So we can actually create a group chat on Telegram as well. Now, they can be working from morning and evening, answering all your requests, helping you in supporting, consulting, and teaching. And then they will help you to set this up and answering all your questions, stuff like that. Plus, we have a 24/7 desk support. That is in case of a more serious, like for example, something is not working or the system is down. We have an emergency line that somebody will be in a duty if necessary, because we have a special connection line to wake up people in the middle of the night. Because for us, money is money. Therefore, we have to provide the best possible service to do that. Okay. Especially we understand the new world of crypto is at most important to actually provide a stability, because if everything goes wrong, especially for the payout, you know what will happen? The end user who use their credit card can actually post on Facebook, like in other social media as well, like, hey, this company is a scam or whatever, right? So we don't want that to happen in our client. Now for routing, let me explain to you what it is and what you are seeing here and what happens under to a person who's making a transaction. So for example, myself, I have a credit card. I want to use it in the gambling site. Whatever happens to the payment button or whatever happens to the payout initiated will actually goes to this routing scheme. So the very first question of the system will ask, okay, is this a verification type of charge, or this is a charge or delay charge? The meaning of verification type of charge is, for example, you have, give me one moment. So sorry. So for example, there's a verification type of charge. So for example, you want to use your credit card in an online transaction. Our system can actually tokenize a card. We will save the token and maybe we can actually use it for recurring charges or remember me function, stuff like that. Now, in case this is a verification type of charge, it will go to this payment service provider. Okay.
If it's not, then it's
If
another
it's
scheme.
not, there's another set of questions. By the way, let me explain to you these attributes. Attributes, we started with time. You can code, you can put different additional conditions over here. We started with time. day of week, day of year, day of month, payment amount, payment currency, random initial, 6 card first digit, issuer country metadata, 3DS mode, CVV, payment card, payment brand, network card type, and so on. If this is not a verification type of charge, it will not go to this PSP, payment solution provider. There's another set of question. Okay, the second question is this, what is the credit card of the end user? Is this MasterCard? And it should be both. This is not an or, it should be an and. And the payment currency are in Euro and USD. You can actually put JPY, for example.
Example, Japanese user will pay in Japan yen. So
For example, only Japan yen or USD. For example, you can put that one. If this is yes to both of this, then it will go to this payment solution provider. If not, there's another set of questions. Is the one of the issued, is this one of the issued country of the credit cards, or is the end user who is using the credit card wants to do the transaction is in one of these countries listed over here? You can also put the country over here, for example, Japan, Singapore, Japan, Philippines. You can put that. Is this the client's country? If this is yes to one of this, then I believe you will be using, I believe that you will be using this very interesting strategy in the future. We call this wait strategy. Okay. The meaning of wait is, for the strategy, we can actually blank. Blank is stop. We can stop the transaction. We will not proceed to any payment solution provider. Random, we can random this to different payment service provider. Direct, only one, directed to one PSP. Priority and wait, I'll explain this to you. Wait strategy is very interesting because, for example, you are connected to 1, 2, 3, 4 payment service provider. For example, this one is Asia Pay, Stripe, PayPal, Skrill. Okay. So, for example, out of 100 transactions, you can actually split them to 36% to this PSP, another 36% for this payment solution provider, 9% to this payment service provider, and 18% to this payment service provider. So basically, we are splitting the transaction across a merchant ID that you are connected with. Okay, this is all about managing the flow. So for example, keeping the number of your payment service provider happy, or they have a turnover, or maybe they have a different threshold or limitation. Because I have a client in Hong Kong, I cannot mention the company name, but they are a jewelry auction online. PayPal and Stripe blocked them last November, but they are being connected to PayPal and Stripe for 5 years already. And then I ask why? Because they exceed the limitation. That's why Stripe and PayPal blocked them. So if the payment service provider said, my boy, you can do transaction, but no more than $1 million a month, or no more than 200,000 number of transaction turnover, or whatever, something of that nature. If you exceed, you know what will happen? The payment service provider will either block you, they will get more commissions to you, or they will hold your money. That's why it is better to be connected with multiple payment service provider. Use our platform so we can integrate all of them so that you can be an aggregator by yourself. You are the one who will distribute the transaction to different payment service providers. This strategy is often used by the merchant who are in high-risk sector. For example, gambling, betting, hotel booking, flight booking, because they really need to be watching of their parameters and indicators of their merchant IDs. Okay.
yes, but we have one problem for the Stripe. Do you know the Stripe, STRIPE? So we check on them, and actually the fee is quite high, 2.9%, and also they charge some more fee for gambling service. So actually, if we connected with them through Ko-Fi, I'm not sure like how it's different from connected with them directly, because we already having problem. Mm,
Uh, you don't need to
because
worry.
yeah,
I have a very good, we have a very good partner who can help you to look for cheaper, high risk payment service provider for you. Okay. Don't connect with
um,
Stripe. We know that they're damn expensive.
yeah.
We can help
So
you to connect for a payment solution provider who are in high risk sector, but not so high when it comes to MDR rate chargeback fee refund fee. Okay.
first I
Now,
can consultant on the providers based on our requirements, right?
yes, yes.
Oh, okay.
Mhm. Okay, now, priority. This is the wait. Let me go to the priority. So for example, if all or everything failed, if all of this payment service provider did not get the transaction, we can do priority. The priority is if no to all of the above question, the system will go to this priority. So you can actually order the merchant ID to be used in this transaction. So in this strategy, you can actually set up who is the first in the system will process. If this will not work, it will automatically cascade to this one, to this one, and to this one. So basically, this is a cascading feature within routing strategy. So this is a cascading feature with routing strategy. However, we have to keep in mind that there is a cascading feature over here, which whatever the payment service provider or merchant ID selected in the previous screen, you can actually back up over here. What do I mean with this? For example, this is Stripe, this is PayPal, this is Asia Pay, while this one is Skrill. I'll repeat. This is Stripe, this is PayPal, 1 and 2 PayPal. This one is Asia Pay, this one is Skrill. If there is a transaction for gambling online, Stripe did not allow it. It says access denied. Our system can transfer this to PayPal. However, if PayPal said we have to decline the transaction, you don't know why, our system can transfer this to Asia Pay. And then if Asia Pay declined this, it says anti-fraud error. Our system can still transfer this to another payment service provider, up to 5 hubs, we recommend, so that it will be accepted. But if the credit card doesn't have any limit anymore, if it exceeds with limitation, of course, all of them will definitely block the credit card, or it will not proceed with the transaction. So we can actually do the cascading. The meaning of cascading is so that your client won't lose the sale immediately. So this is one of the things we recommend to bring the conversion up. This is one of the things we recommend so that you won't lose the sale immediately, because there is some payment service providers, for example, Stripe said, I don't like Euro cards, or I don't like Chinese cards, or I don't like Japanese cards. They will block it immediately. Some providers may be notorious for failing a certain reason for the credit cards in a certain geography. Even me, for example, I want to use my credit card. I want to go to Amazon United States and I want to use my credit card. You know what will happen? Amazon United States will block my credit card. They will not proceed unless I will go to Amazon Singapore. They will accept my payment because they are connected to a payment service provider in Asia Pacific. Okay, can you get it? Okay, so this one is very important for a gambling for a gambling company. Okay. Now, modifier scheme. Let's go for this one. Modifier is all about modifying the previous setting by either making a requiring of 3DS. Same thing with CVV. Okay. By the way, this one, additional condition, you can actually base this similar conditions. Some of them may be really recognizable from the previous page, or some of them may be new to you. So for example, this one, is this guy retrying for the 20th time? Stuff like that. If the end user wants to put their credit card 20th time, our system will block it. You can put those parameter. Okay.
As for the retry, I read it on website and it say you can apply for the payouts up to 100 times.
Oh,
maximum.
let's
Is that-
discuss that. Let's discuss the payments and payout later. About the
Yeah, but this one
conditional-
is for credit card retry,
Mhm.
or you mentioned the attempts.
Yes, yes. Let's speak about this one later on. Because you can actually put like conditional orders as well. For this one, some of the clients that we have, they disable the 3DS two-factor authentication. Like someone will text on SMS. If the end user wants to use a credit card, the credit card company will ask them for an OTP on phone or on email. Then they have to put that. That is the best thing that you can do for me. You know why? Because if your client in Japan later on has a lot of chargeback or refund, it is a headache for him. So better if they can actually put the 3DS over here, so that the end user will need to communicate with the bank. Because for example, if the end user said, my boy, I'm not the one who did this transaction, it was my sister. My sister put my OTP over here because she has my phone. Okay. If that's the case and they put the OTP, they need to contact their bank, the issuer bank of the credit card. But if you did not allow the 3DS, you or your client, the gambling company, will be the one who needs to communicate with the acquiring bank. Okay, like I'll repeat, if there's an end user who did something wrong with the transaction, they need to communicate with their issuer bank. But if you did not put or require this 3DS, you're the one who will be communicating with the acquiring bank if there's a chargeback or refund. That's why it is still safe to put 3DS over here. Okay.
As
Maybe-
enable, it's recommended to be enabled, right? Or
Yes.
because for security.
It is recommended to require or enable, correct? Okay. Now, let's go to this. I'm done with the payments. Let's go to the exchange rate scheme. So currently we are integrated with 34 national banks, commercial banks, currency rate aggregators, and we update every 3 minutes to use reconciling fiat to fiat, because a 3-minute time zone is not deadly for fiat, right? And here, for example, these are the banks, for example, Hong Kong Association of Bank, we are connected. But for the rate schemes, let me go to this demonstration. So for example, this one, for example, there's a USD over to Japan yen. It says over here. By the way, these 3 sources of rate are only information sources with no obligation to settle. But if you guys are operating in a number of markets and you are operating with different banks, they can actually provide their rates or API, then we can actually integrate with their rates, okay? For example, this one, it's 136.55 fee rate is, for example, 0.7. Fixed rate, for example, I'll put this one. Okay. This is the real source rate, but our system can provide dynamic pricing for your client. Why do we need to do this? For example, your client has a lot of charges that they need to pay. Maybe they need to pay us, they need to pay their payment service providers or their banks. So they actually can put fee rate and fee fix over here. So for example, I'll give you an example. For example, there is a Vietnamese company selling leather bags for men and women, and they do not want, and they want their 10,000 Vietnamese dollar for the leather bags, regardless of where they sell it. So they do not want to bear any currency rate exposure risk. So they will be setting up something like this, and whatever the local market is and whatever the bank will actually charge them, they can actually convert the money and then settle the money, and they can actually put the charges over to this fee rate and fee fix. And then the system will give them a dynamic pricing like this one. They will always display the correct amount of money to all of their market that they're working with. And then they can actually get the payment, and the bank will actually advise them to settle the payment, for example, and they always get their 10,000 Vietnamese dollar, and plus the bank makes money, right? Now, this is being used by the payment service provider. This is one of the things, or this is how they make money, okay? Because the portion of the payment service provider is actually in the fee rate and fee fix. So this can be similar setup for you. Now, let me go to the commerce team.
So if we want real-time convert, we don't need to set the rule, right? Oh,
You can set the
it's
rule.
real time on the time of payment.
So
Real-time
I have another question for you. How many clients do you have? Is it only one that needs this?
Yes, only Moon Rabbit game.
Sorry.
Yeah, we already have one client.
If you only
You
have
mean
one client,
any-
you don't need this.
Yeah.
You don't need this anymore. You don't need merchant 1, merchant 2. If the client has only one company. Because white label solution is for the payment service provider as well. But you're not a payment service provider. You don't want to be a payment service provider for high risk, right? You're only a consultancy company. So the person who needs, the person that we need to communicate is your client. And then they can already did this. For example, they can actually do this. Payments and payouts. Payment is, they can put the limitation over here. For example, what is a amount limit, transaction limit over here. Chargeback fee, they can put the chargeback fee over here. They can, so that, they can have allowance. They want to put some allowance for per transaction of the end user. The end user will pay them, okay? Or for the payout, they can also do this one like this. They can do limitations over here, and then fee rate and fee fix. Now, this one, for example, for the merchant one, you can see the, how can I say this? The processing currencies. What are the currencies over here? You can see the deposit. You can also see the withdrawals. Payments. You can see the payment listed over here. Okay. Payouts, you can also see payouts over here. We can also do batch payout. So for example, there is a batch payout you want to put, you need to put the CSV file over here. Customers listed over here as well. Report, you can download the monthly report. Sandbox, you can also download the sandbox over here. They can use this. I cannot provide you a test account because you cannot do anything with a test account as well. That's why I encourage your client to do the subscription monthly already. Now, for this one, like what I said, you don't need this merchant dashboard. So this is the white label solution. I believe you don't need this because, like you said, you only have one client. You only have one client, and the client can actually do this as well here. Okay, they can actually create new process, new invoice. Okay, what is a payout? What is a batch payout? Deposit, withdrawal, fund transfer. Did you do a fund transfer from one account to another? Reports, you can download this one over here as well in the super admin account. Okay, you can also see listed customers over here. Filter, there is a create, there is an e-commerce account, how many. You can check over here your customers, payment invoices, payout invoices, payments. You can see payouts, you can see as well. What are the payout thing over here? Okay, so actually I am done with the system demo already, because right now you mentioned that you don't want to be a payment service provider, you're only a consultancy company. So the best person that we need to speak is your client. I hope he can attend the meeting later, right?
Yeah, he can. Yeah.
This one, right? Yeah. What is the name of your client? This one.
Is RBT, yeah, Rabbit Dev Team.
But
So
are they can speak in English, because the system is only English, not Japanese.
yes, he can speak English, but yeah, let me check more details on the actual user of this.
Okay, thank you very much, my boy. My boy, also for
Yes, correct.
for this pricing, can I send this to you as well? Like this one, pricing structure. I'll send this to you, and I'll be sending you a questionnaire